Okay. So welcome, Rocco. How are you doing today?
Excellent. Thank you so much, Frances. Here is 8 o'clock in the morning, just getting ready to go to work after our call.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the audience. So I'm very, very happy and grateful to be able to introduce Rocco Bova. Rocco Bova is a hospitality expert. He's also founder for the Summit for Hospitality in Mexico, recently founded. You just had a recent summit as well. He's disrupting the model for hospitality, and he's also turned real estate hospitality developer. I know that there's a project in the works right now that is working on getting funded, so I'm excited to hear more about that. And he's also a lot of many things. He's a thought leader in the industry as well. So I'm happy to welcome him. I'm happy to have him a part of this project. And Rocco, I'd like you to just from your perspective, introduce yourself and share a little bit more about yourself for the audience, please. Thank
Thank
you so much.
you. Thank you, Frances. Thank you for the kind introduction. I actually come from this little village where I'm going to in a couple of days. I'm from Italy, from the southern part of Italy. I was born in a small village by the sea, very beautiful, but also with not so many opportunities. So since I was very young, I dreamed to travel the world and explore and experience. And then here I am after 11 countries where I've been living and working in hospitality. Always worked for some of the best brands in the world, including Jumeirah, Four Seasons, Ritz-Carlton, St. Regis, Aman. More recently here in Mexico with the Chablais Hotels and Resort, and basically now continuing my journey to promote tourism, to promote also hospitality project. And actually very soon you will hear, in fact, I hope in the next 3 to 4 months about a Mexican hospitality school. Watch this space.
Wow, beautiful. That sounds amazing. I am excited to learn more about that. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for being here. So we're going to go into the subject matter here. We're talking about
So,
the reason why we're doing these interviews is we want to learn about different perspectives from professionals, experts, and developers, hospitality developers, real estate developers. Also, people like Bill Reed, for example, that is advises the development field. What's their perspective on impact real estate? And to be very specific, we're calling it impact, but really the aspiration for us and the collective that is doing this is regenerative development, which comes from a whole systems thinking perspective. But we do feel that that is a very high ask. So we want to keep it to impact. What does impact mean for different people? And just projects that are doing good for people, good for the planet. That you're not just looking at the profit, but you're looking at what positive impacts you can have around you. So what do you think of when you hear the term impact real estate or impact development in the hospitality real estate field? What comes to mind?
well, I would like to start with a tagline first, if I may. And
Okay.
the tagline for my humble house, which is, the project I'm working on, is actually profit is the consequence of our purpose. And I think this can resume very, very easily, what impact investment or impact real estate or impact hospitality it's all about. I think that this term is resonating always more and more around the world, and not just in this part in the Americas, but I can hear this even from some colleagues in Italy, where they call it lusso gentile, which means a gentle luxury.
Mm, beautiful.
In Spain, David Arraya, for example, another colleague of the hospitality industry, is working on emotional hospitality. So there are already I can say this is a movement that may not involve everyone, because we are 8 billion people at the end of the day, but there is definitely a niche that is looking for such a new way of doing business in hospitality in particular. I'm talking about, because this is the area I am expert. And that's why I decided to move into this. I'm not the kind of person that goes where if everyone goes right, I follow. If everyone goes right, I go left. So I
You're a
prefer to
disruptor.
I prefer to be in that 10%. And, to be honest with you, so far so good. I'm 55 almost. And I think that the past 30 plus years, I've done okay. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here talking to you this morning.
Thank you, thank you. So beautiful. I love that I didn't know these terms. I didn't know that. I love it. And the different terms that are being used around the world, ultimately they are all in the sake of purpose and in the sake of good. But what does that translate to when you think of impact? So, in your space, in the hospitality space, and we're talking here primarily about the built environment. And so when maybe, I know that right now you are working on a project, and I'm very excited to learn more as to, what aspects of sustainability impact you're looking to bring into the project that you're developing in Merida, Yucatan, in the area of Yucatan, correct? You can
Mhm.
expand a little bit into that. And so, yeah, impact, and then the impact comes, before where you're building, but then also continues on because you're operating the project, and you're still having a positive impact. And we can go into the aspect of regenerative tourism and sustainable tourism once the actual project is built. So how does that translate to impact, all of these different terms for you?
For me, it's truth. I mean, you need to be truthful with yourself and the community that you're working in. How you're going to use this money. I mean, if someone is going to trust in me, is gonna give me, I don't know, let's say $100 million. They need to trust what I'm doing, and I need to deliver truthfully what I'm saying I'm going to do. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of companies, unfortunately, they don't do that. They sell a lot of greenwashing. They sell a lot of impact washing, let's call it in this case.
Yeah.
They say they're gonna do, protect the environment and blah blah blah, and then they don't do. They say they're gonna give jobs to the local community, and probably they do, but they don't do really 100% because actually they take advantage of the local community rather than developing the local community. And
Mm-hmm.
I can go on and on. So for me, is delivering truthfully what you say you're going to do, and that you can resume this into integrity. You really need to be what you say you're going to be, and you need to be showing this with real fact. You cannot just say, words, nice words, or write books and be a social media influencer. It doesn't work like that to me.
You said something that is absolutely key, and I love that you brought that up. Developing the community. That is key because most developers, most hospitality, professionals are coming in, and the way that they think is, I'm giving them jobs, right? So I'm going to give jobs in a place that, these people didn't have a job before, and so that's good. But we're not really thinking about developing the community. From the regenerative standpoint, it's all about developing the community. It's about building the capacity for that community to actually be able to evolve into a higher order of existence, so that you're feeding life into them. You're doing education, you're maybe making them entrepreneurs. And I know that you have an interesting concept, a disruptive concept with My Humble House and your business model for My Humble House. Can you share a little bit more of that with us, please?
Sure. Well, my humble house was born about 21 years ago. The name, at least, it was born 21
Speed.
years ago. Because I was in Singapore at the time. I was working there, and I was invited to the grand opening of a restaurant called My Humble House at the Esplanade. And the restaurant was nice. I mean, like most nice restaurant, it was another nice restaurant. It was nothing really special. But the name really struck me and resonate a lot with who I am as an individual, where I come from, and be humble. To me, is actually quite important. To remain humble even if you grow and you become successful. And so I said to myself, I love this name. I'm gonna keep it for one day. So 4 years ago, when I turned 50, I decided to do something. And I decided to do something that may or may not, I don't know yet, but it may, or at least I want to disrupt the way business is done in the hospitality industry. So I got the name, obviously, because the name was there, always in my mind, and it was always in a piece of paper, waiting for the right time. And so I started to write a business plan, and the business plan of my humble house as a hotel. And words just came like a waterfall.
Mm.
I wrote about 150 pages,
Wow.
and then I shared with a lot of people around the world, colleagues, friends, family, people, C-level executives, and everyone loved it. Everyone said, "Rocco, this is amazing." But a couple of people, which I respect a lot, they told me, "Rocco, it is amazing, but you need to make order. You need to write it like a business plan. This is not a business plan. This is an inspiration book." So
Mm.
I had to learn how to write a business plan, and so I did. And I changed the format, and I shrunk it to 60 pages approximately. So from 150 to 60. So there was a lot of blurb that maybe was not so useful. Maybe were useful for me as an
Mm-hmm.
inspiration, but not useful for who eventually going to read this white paper.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started to work on the business on the pitch deck, because obviously investors, they don't want to read 60 pages. They want to have something that is more concise and more brief. So I prepared a pitch deck, and I started to share this pitch deck with a lot of people, and everybody loved it. And then by the time I already had these two documents, I also opened a LinkedIn account of my humble house, which is now over 6,000 followers. And I have no hotel, I have nothing, but it is proven that the concept is needed. Otherwise, I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't have so many people following me and congratulate me and send me messages and say that they like it. And so I think that the business concept is necessary. Definitely, he's accepted, because otherwise I wouldn't have so many people following me. And basically now I will be soon, very soon, looking for investor, because now I have got the land as well. And in a short words, because profit is the consequence of our purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the business model of my humble house is very simple. From one side is for the investors, obviously, because people will ask me, okay, when I get my money back. The
Of
business
course.
model is hotel plus residences. So you sell the residences, you get your money back. So happy for you.
Mm-hmm.
From a community point of view, there will be two schools actually as a part of the master plan. There will be one hotel school, which is actually part of the community, so that the community can be taught how to work in hotels, and they can get immediately a job in the project. But there
Beautiful.
is also a second school, which is more of a nursery for single mother, because there are a lot of single mothers that they want to work, but they cannot work because maybe they have a young child and nobody can take care of the child. So there will be a
Mm.
nursery as well as a part of the staff facilities, so that these young mothers can leave their child there. Somebody's gonna take care of the children, and they can come to work, and they can be so close, so every now and then can go and check out if everything is going well. There will be a third school, obviously, for the people living in this community, because there is a community also as a part of the hotel. It's not just a hotel plus residences, but there will be two additional community where people can buy to live or buy to rent. And there will be
Okay.
also part of as a part of the amenities, there will be also another elementary middle class school. And we will be dedicating about 4 hectares of land to agriculture. So it's not, the typical little garden, herb garden where you have your fresh herbs. No, no, there will be
Mm-hmm.
40,000 square meters dedicated to production in agriculture.
Amazing.
That will provide obviously job also for the community, as well as the producer for the master plan, and many other things. I mean, it's quite exciting. I'm very very proud of what I've done. I don't know if this is going to happen, but in theory, it is already working. So I'm already very happy for what I have achieved, even though it may not happen. I don't know. But so far, so good. So I'm going in the right direction.
Beautiful, beautiful. And is there a profit sharing component? I know there was something that you had mentioned, and I'm not quite fully familiar with it, but there was a different aspect that I remember a couple of years ago when we connected, because I've been following you for a while, and when I saw your concept, I said, when I build my project, this is someone that I want to run the hospitality component. And I've always, been keeping tabs on how it's going. And I said, I can not only see it happening, I can see it being, expanded throughout. That's how I envision, and I know that it's been quite the journey. So I commend you for it, and you are an inspiration as well. Because we're all in this path of trying to do incredible things, and we know that it's not easy. So, but yeah, going just in that aspect, I'm just curious if there was something of that regard, or maybe
Definitely.
it was not. Yeah.
There are two aspects of profit sharing. There is one aspect which will be a percentage of the net profit will be shared among all team members, all of them. And there will be a percentage of the net profit, which I'm estimating at 10% at the moment. This may change in the future, but at least at 10%, maybe more, but at least 10%. And this will be collected into a fund. Because as you know, a fund like an emergency fund, so a little, the little pig that you break in case of
Mhm.
need.
Mhm.
If you need to buy something special, you break your piggy bank. So the piggy bank, in theory, should exist in every company,
Mhm.
correct? You
Correct.
open a business, you should always have a piggy bank. But
Mhm.
apparently, during the pandemic, no company in the world thought about a piggy bank. And including the bigger names of the hospitality industry, the Accor, the Hyatt, and the Hilton, and the Marriott, they all say, sorry, but there is no money.
Mm.
So they started to, get rid of people like one day to the next because there was no money. But guess what? This big company today, they still exist. So I guess there was money. There
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
money.
Exactly. Yeah.
It was just a matter of deciding what to do with this money.
Mhm.
So in the case of my humble house, there will be money. There will be money for as long as it's going to last, but there will be a piggy bank that's going to be used for emergency situation. And those emergency situation at least may not last forever, of course, because there is another pandemic that can last 10 years. Who knows that? But at least there will
Hope
be
not.
something that is going to be there. And it is actually the responsibility of each team member to make sure that that money keeps growing. So more
Mhm.
profit the company makes, more money they will be there as an emergency. As simple as that. I earn money, they also earn money, or at least they earn security that if something is going to happen, we have money to survive over a period of time. And this will all be public. So the team member, they know exactly how much money there is in the bank account and how this money will be used eventually in the future.
Beautiful, beautiful, amazing. Well, thinking ahead of everything is thought of and intentional. Beautiful. Now let's go into the real estate component. I know you were looking for that land for a while. I know there was a journey, and this is just the beginning phase. You're going to go into that funding process, but maybe share a little bit about what your challenges were in that process of obtaining the land. And I remember when you and I spoke the first time, I believe you were, I think, on the Pacific, if I recall correctly, on a project, on an incredible intended project at the time. And then we've continued talking, and finally I saw the post a couple of months ago about the land is here, and it's exciting. It's really exciting to watch other people's journeys, because it's like, okay, it can be done. So yeah, share about the challenges for the funding for that land, that process of being able to get capital to just get that initial component of the project, please.
That is correct. Looking for the right location is never easy for any project, whether it is a residential, hospitality, or mixed use. I was maybe lucky to coincidentally find this land. It was not intentional. It was a coincidence, but it was the right coincidence at the right time in the right place and at the right price. Something that I can afford to purchase. I had to make a loan, of course, with the bank so that I can have the sufficient money to buy this land. And now I have 52 hectares of land. It's in a location that it's ideal because it's not too far, not too close to a city. So at least you are still in the jungle, but you're not in the middle of nowhere. You are within an hour and a half from the main city of Merida in this case. And nearby uh, you have pyramids, you have cenotes, you have caves, you have jungle, of course, you have agricultural land, you have the Pueblo of Guayaberas, where they make these beautiful shirts, which is called tequila, and many other things, artisans. The beach is only 2 hours away. Even if people want to go to the beach, it's only 2 hours away. Within an hour and a half, you can go to Chichen Itza if you want. And at 3 hours plus the hour change drive, you can go to Bacalar, for example, or
Mm.
Tulum. So there are a lot of amenities, which are reasonably close. And that's why I decided, actually, I was looking for this land for a client. I was not looking for me.
Oh wow, that's that's
But
an interesting.
I decided to make the leap of faith and say, okay, you know what, Rod, I think this is for you more than your client.
Amazing, amazing.
And so this is how I found it. Now, how difficult it is to get the money and stuff like that. The most important, you have credibility, that you are a credible individual, that you pay your taxes, you have a good credit history and so on and so forth. So from that side, it's relatively easy. And also the location, the land is not so expensive either. So you also have to understand, if you want to go beachfront, of course you have to be a multimillionaire. It
Mm,
doesn't matter whether you are in Mexico, or you are in Argentina, you are in Europe, or you are in Asia. It is very expensive to buy beachfront or seafront, period.
100%. Yeah.
But if you want to do something good, something impactful, okay, don't buy beachfront, because also what's happening also around the world, all the beachfront land is basically over. There is no more beachfront, or it's extremely expensive, and nobody or very few people can afford to have a house close to the
Hmm.
sea. I'm lucky to be born in a place like this, but I can walk 5 minutes and I'm already by the sea. But not everyone is lucky like me. So
Hmm.
I think you also need to understand which location you want to invest in land. And third, there are many other ways, and there is a lot of money available and a lot of investors ready to invest, but you need to have a proper plan, a proper business plan, a proper idea to sell to the potential investor. And you need to invest also money and time to look for these people. You cannot expect people to tell you, "Hey, Rocco, I heard about you and your project," and it doesn't work like that. You need to work really hard to find those investors. The investors are there and are waiting for an idea, a new idea, so that they can safely put the money in. But you need to
Hmm.
knock many doors, at times even thousands of doors, until you get one to be open for you.
Beautiful, beautiful, amazing. And as you were as you were speaking of the everything that is close by to the land, I had a big smile because you know how much I love the Yucatan Peninsula and close to all the magic that exists there. It's just an incredible, incredible destination all around. Such beautiful land. So I'm excited to come visit sometime. And thank you for sharing that story. It's interesting that you also find it with a buyer, and you're still in the process. So you eventually go into the funding round. So I'll be excited to go into a second phase of this interview and say, hey, Rocco, how's it going with actually raising the capital for building this out? What are right now? Maybe to go a little bit more about the timelines. Like, what's your expectation on the what do you figure? I know that everything depends, and we're still in that process. But what is your aim as far as timelines for development? And out of curiosity, this is kind of on the sideline, out of curiosity, and maybe aside from the agricultural component, what is your vision for the building aspect of it, other aspects of sustainability in the build component of it?
So timeline wise, my gut feeling are telling me that this year something is going to happen. And
Beautiful.
something's going to happen by September. I don't know why, but I keep telling myself that in September something is going to happen. So I have a feeling that
Beautiful.
this year something big is going to take shape, which means that if this is happening by next year, I should be able to start the process to get the permit, because the permit is also an
Mm-hmm.
important part. And I guess that within a year from 2026, which means beginning of 2027, possibly begin construction. So that's my
Beautiful.
plan. That's my plan.
Beautiful.
And
Amazing.
I'm
Well,
already talking to a board of people. So I'm creating a board members basically to
okay.
join me. I already have two, and I may have more in the next couple of months joining me in this journey.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, I wish you all the best, and I look forward to following the journey, continuing to follow the journey. Um, let's talk about successfully funded projects that, from your perspective, uh, are successful. Which projects, if you're looking at impact hospitality projects, and you can also talk about real estate, or you can mention, anything that you feel that is impactful, positive, that is has been successfully funded, and why do you think they received this funding? What do you think made them successful in that aspect of it?
I
Maybe your
can
top
mention,
three.
I can mention two. I can
Okay,
mention because
okay,
I already mentioned one.
okay, okay, okay,
I
okay. Yes,
I already mentioned my humble house. I think this is gonna happen. Hold on tight. This is
I
going
love
to
it.
happen.
I love it. Love it.
I can mention two more. I can mention two more. I can tell you why people would bet on such a project, because they're very big project. I mean, we are talking about more than 1,000 hectares of land. It's
Mm,
a lot of land to
that's a lot
develop.
of yes.
Okay, so one is called Shala. It,
Oh, beautiful.
you heard
I
about it
of
most
course,
probably. So
of course, of course.
Shala, one of the key point or the key selling point is basically develop basically 10% of the land. That's it. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's already a big start. When you develop only 10 or impact 10% of the land, that's a
That's
big
huge.
deal already.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a component, a hospitality component. There will be 4 boutique hotels, one
Mm-hmm.
already announced which is a Six Senses,
I'm
coincidentally,
aware. Mm-hmm.
very much focus on sustainability, and the other three have yet to be announced. Then you have residences which will occupy 1 hectare per residence, and they're only going to have 200 residents. So it will be 50-room hotel plus 50 residences in total. So the low impact, the large amount of land that is going to be available for farming. There is a mango farm basically in this 1,000 hectare. I don't know how many hectares dedicated to mango farming, but I think it's more than 400 hectares. So it's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of
Mm-hmm.
mangoes there to eat every day.
Mm-hmm.
um, but that tells you already, the purpose that they want to uh, share with their community.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want to have 2,000 homes. They only want to have 200 homes, which
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
makes again, the place or the people that they want to go there to live say, well, I'm not going to live in a city. I'm actually going to live in a neighborhood. That's very different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yes, most probably will be for the elite, but that's okay. It's
Mm-hmm.
fine. I mean, if you don't have people willing to spend money to have to have an exclusive place, then of course you have to do the micro lotes, like
Mm-hmm.
300 square meters and sell the whole land and sell it, like 200,000 pesos. That was never meant to be the purpose, and I respect that, to be honest. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we should not think that only millionaire can have this lifestyle. We should think that millionaires can actually help preserve the land. Otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to become another city by the sea.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is one I like a lot because I actually spoke to the developer, and I'm planning to invite the developer to come to the next Summit Mexicano de
Beautiful.
la Hospitalidad next year. So next year
Well, I hope to be there.
we will announce actually 6 to 8 of the biggest and most impactful project in Mexico during the
Beautiful.
summit next year. So I'm already talking to companies like Belmont, companies like Shala, of course, and I don't want to mention all of the six senses as well will be there, but you know there will be more coming so that they can make their announcement during the summit next year. And
Beautiful.
another project, I don't know if you heard about this. It's called Rancho Altos in Jalisco.
Okay. I don't think I have. I don't think I have.
So
I was thinking there's a no, I was thinking Reserva Santa Fe, which is a different one. So Rancho Altos, I don't think I have. I'd love
I'm
to hear
gonna
more.
say I'm gonna send this in the chat, so maybe later on you can actually have a look and you can study. This was
Beautiful.
born conceptually was born probably 3 years ago, 3 or even 4 years ago, when I heard the first time, and I started to investigate the people behind it, and I said, "Wow, this is amazing. You know, that's very interesting. You know what they're trying to do." And Jalisco is a big state. You know, there's a lot of land there. You know, so
Mm-hmm.
Jalisco also has a lot of history and historical is a very important state. They also have beautiful beaches, but they also have the agave azul, the
Mm-hmm.
very
Mm-hmm.
famous agave azul for the production of tequila. So it's a kind of a agri living, no agritourism. It's an agri living with an hospitality component. It's a very interesting. I suggest you to check it out and study a little bit what they're trying to achieve. Again, low impact, less impact on the land, a lot of agricultural based use of the land,
Mm-hmm.
which is obviously what we need. We need to keep the land. We need to farm the land so the land can provide something for us rather than using this vertical farming, that they produce food that has no nutrition whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so these are the two projects which I can say that probably in Mexico at least they are the most impactful for me.
Beautiful, beautiful. Lovely to learn more. I'm definitely looking forward to checking out Rancho Altos and Shala. I have been following for several years now, and haven't been there yet, but I am aware of what they're doing. And one of the things that I love about Shala, I mean, yes, you do. Like I said, I really do believe it's not that it doesn't have to be that you're only building for the elite, but there is a component that is actually giving back to the community. Shala is working with Legacy Works Group, which is also working with Playa Viva, and they
Mhm.
are very very strong in the community building and supporting the local community. So there's already a component within Shala, aside from the restoration of the ecosystems processes that they're doing as well, that is supporting the local community. So I'm excited to see how things progress. That's a beautiful beautiful project, and it's wonderful that you're the first person that has brought it up, so thank you for sharing that. And so let's see, we're getting close to finalizing things here. I'm gonna, I guess, ask you, what aside from what else, do you think is important to take into consideration in this process as far as the challenges, challenges in receiving funding for this project? So you're talking right now to a group of individuals that I say there's a new wave of developers coming around right now. There's a new group of people that they want to develop projects. Many of them do not necessarily come from the development space, but are very, very well versed, and they are people that would like to have a positive impact and want to develop these type of projects. But we are having a lot of difficulty in, obtaining the funding. There's incredible, literally incredible decks out there for wonderful projects. A lot of what we have seen in these conversations is pre-development funding is been a big problem because most of them or many of them do not actually even have the land yet. So you have to
Mhm.
first get the land, and then get the land. You have the land. Well, how do I hire an expert team? I personally like to say, look, if you have the land and you have the money to hire the expert team, you're gonna get the financing as long as you bought in the right place, right? The location is still key, but that having that expert team of true experts that are able to design a project is key. And most of the time, that money is not there yet. So that pre-development funding, and what can you say to those people, as far as how they can overcome these challenges of right now, so that we can continue to build in a way that is positive and that can, really support all the future generations?
I may repeat what I said earlier, but you need to knock 1,000 doors before you can get one open.
You're the
You need
second
to
person that said that, huh? In
you
these
need
interviews.
you need to knock thousands of doors before you get one open. Okay, so I've been doing this for 4 years now, for nearly 4.5 years, talking about my humble house, a concept that is only a concept. But I've generated so much content about the concept that people already think that there is already one somewhere. Now, generating this interest is one thing. Looking for the investors is completely different. So for example, I can give you some ways or some tips on how I do it. I participate to at least 3 investment conference every year. So my own pocket money, I pay for the ticket, I pay for the airfare, I pay for the hotel to stay a couple of days, and I participate and I do network with
Mm-hmm.
relevant people. You have
Mm-hmm.
to tell your story to thousands of people until you get one and say, "Hey, Rocco, tell me a little bit more about it." So how you make this impactful conversation, it's also important. People need to learn how to sell and
Mm-hmm.
how to sell without selling because in those conferences everyone is trying to sell you something.
Yes, a hundred
So you need to
percent, 100%.
really break the ice so well, otherwise you're just going to be another young guy or older guy that is trying to sell me something. Everybody's looking for money. There is a lot of people looking for money and there is a lot of money available, but you
Mm-hmm.
need to find the right way, the right balance on how you strike through these people. And you need to make network. You need to make connection with thousands of people until somebody is going to listen to your story. So I tell this story, this very story, like I'm telling you now, hundreds of times a year, at least, at least 100 times a year. I tell about the story like this in a podcast or in an interview or I write
Mm-hmm.
something. So again, it's a lot of work. A lot of people are not ready
Mm-hmm.
to do that. They think
Mm-hmm.
it's very easy. They think you can do a crowdfunding and you get the first $200,000 and no, with two hundred thousand
Doesn't work
dollars,
that way.
I do nothing. I'm not interested in $200,000. I'm interested in
Mm-hmm.
$100 million. If I find
Mm-hmm.
this crazy person that believes in my idea, then we go ahead. Otherwise, it's gonna take me 200 years to get this project off the ground. I'm not interested. I'd rather don't do it and keep this as a beautiful concept instead of trying to raise money, with $10 here and $5 there. You need to think big as well. You need to be very ambitious. You need to be very
Beautiful.
ambitious. And a lot of people told me it's easier to find $100 million than to find $2 million. And I
Mm-hmm.
believe
Mm-hmm.
that. I truly
Right.
believe that. But you
Yep.
need to have some grounded reason to provide a security for those people that they're going to give you $100 million and say, okay, I believe in you, Rocco. Okay, let's do it.
Beautiful, beautiful. It has to make business sense. And we're gonna close it out with one last thing. Um, challenge in the, let's say, what lessons have you learned in this little journey, well, in this big journey that you have, started 20 years ago with my humble house. Maybe share your, couple of lessons there that maybe we can try to learn from your experiences, if you will.
One, persistence. Persistence. You need to have the resilience to say, tomorrow I'm going to start all over again. If yesterday I failed, today is another day, tomorrow is a different day. So you need to keep looking, keep looking, keep looking. I remember, this is not my phrase, but Steve Jobs in a speech at the Harvard when the young student were graduating, he said, "Keep looking, don't settle." And I keep
Beautiful.
looking and I don't settle. So I will keep looking and I will not settle until I find this one person. And the second lesson that I learned is to be coherent.
Mm,
You cannot be one day left and the other day right. Okay?
mhm,
Eh, I've been working my career for more than 30 years now, and yes, I've been changing companies left and right. But it came a point on my life maybe it was a, call it a midlife crisis, but midlife crisis for better, for good, not midlife crisis that people that they go into depression and and they don't know what to do.
Hmm.
No, no. Actually,
Evolution.
at 50, I had this midlife revolution, that
I'm almost
allowed
there.
me to allowed me to actually get to the next level and become another person, literally another professional, still in the same industry, but another professional. Today, I can talk freely with no fear of being criticized or being even removed from a job, because obviously when you work for a company, you have the fear that if you say something wrong, they may criticize you or they may say, Rocco, you're not fit for this company. Okay,
Hmm.
well now
Burning bridges.
I don't have any more this fear because I decided to go entrepreneurial, create my own consultancy company, and guess what? It's working. So
Beautiful.
it's a different life now, but you need to be coherent. You cannot, for 25 years, I was coherent, in working with big organization. I'm very, very proud and very happy because they taught me a lot. I learned a lot and I gave a lot too, Then let's
Hmm.
not forget that I gave a
Of
lot
course,
too.
of
So
course.
it was a win-win. Everybody got their shares and, but now the second part of my career, I want to give back. I want to find a way on everything that I learned. How can I give this back? For example, I told you earlier, about a school, a hotel school project now that I'm
Hmm.
working on for Mexico.
Hmm.
It's gonna be the best hotel school for Latin America in Spanish.
Beautiful. That's
So,
perfecto.
this is my next project. I want to make impactful action that really makes sense for me because obviously I also have a purpose, still have a purpose. I'm still very young, and it needs to have also a good impact for the place that I live. I live in Mexico now, and I want to leave a good legacy here.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing you that. It's again so inspiring. I'll be 50 in 2 years myself. So, it's always good to look at others in the past. And you said something that was key, your second, both of them, persistence, but then the second about, I think it goes back to authenticity. You are scared of when you go into this process of becoming an entrepreneur. I'm, in that process now. I have a lot of organizations that I'm very grateful to have a strategic alliances that support me. But I had that fear of many for many years, and still I sometimes get a little bit of anxiety attacks. Did I say the right thing? Did I mess up? Did I? But I have to go back to grounding myself and say, Francis, are you being authentic? Are you being are you following your values and your integrity? And sometimes that's not going to be in alignment with some people. Those are not your people, right? You also want to make sure that you are partnering and being surrounded by people that are really in alignment with your values and in integrity with what you believe in. So that's the key thing, and you have to have courage to do that. So I also commend you for doing that as well, because it's certainly not easy. So I want to thank you so much for the time that you have given us and for all the knowledge and wisdom that you have shared. And I want to wish you a very, very successful continuing journey. I'm very excited to see what's going to happen with Rocco Bova and my humble house and the Summit Mexico and the school, because I have no doubt, from the very beginning, I said this is someone I should be following. And, I'm excited to see what the future holds for all of your endeavors. And it's a pleasure having you here. Thank you so much.
Mil gracias. Thank you, Francis. See you
Thank you.
soon.